on the the Microsoft Defender XDR Zero to Hero webinar series. So in this session, we'll be talking. So the topic for today's session is demystifying Microsoft Defender XDR licensing. So as the topic itself clearly says, we are trying to help unlock some of the doubts or concerns that you have in regards to Microsoft Defender XDR licensing. So let me tell you upfront. So this topic is something which has a lot of ambiguity or uncertainty. So we'll try our level best to make it as simple as possible, and we'll try to talk in detail about the licensing stuff. But at the same point in time, I just want to stress and let you know that I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. I don't want to get too overboard and get you all confused. So that with that, let me go ahead and get this started. Moving on. So about the speakers, so myself, my name is Vignesh Ganeshan. I work as an enterprise architect, and I'm also a Microsoft MVP and MCT. I've been in the industry for almost close to 13 plus years now, dealt with Microsoft 365, Azure, and other technologies related to Microsoft 365. So that's me, and I'll hand it over to my co-speaker, Samik, to introduce himself. Samik, over to you.
Thank you, Vignesh, and myself, Samik, and I am also a cloud security architect and security MVP as well. And I'm also a MCT author, primarily working on Microsoft security space, and I have been in industry for more than 10 years. And today, joining Vignesh to help you understand more on licensing. So, thank you, Vignesh. Over to you.
All right, thank you. All right, folks. So setting the expectations for this webinar series. So I know this is something that I did on the very first session, but I just want to make sure that I show the slide for the couple of sessions so that we all understand what exactly to expect from this webinar series. So the targeted audiences, as I've said in the very first session, it's M365 admins or architects. You could be somebody who's coming from the Azure side of things. So you could be a cloud engineer or a cloud architect or a solution architect or an IT security professional. But the bare minimum that we expect is you should have a good understanding of Microsoft 365 and Azure services, because in this webinar series, we are going to target only the XDR stuff. We are not going to talk in detail about Microsoft 365 or Azure in itself. Okay. So the end goal, we want to make sure that you get yourself familiarized with all the Microsoft Defender XDR products, implementation methods, licensing, and some best practices. So if you're somebody who has zero knowledge on this, so this webinar series should be a perfect place for you to learn right from the very beginning and then gradually grow and understand all the complex topics. And finally, the key takeaways, we want to make sure that at the end of this webinar series, you have a good understanding about Microsoft Defender XDR, the different products and services in the suite. Why is even Microsoft XDR important for an organization with cloud footprints, and what problem the XDR can solve for you, right? So those are the key takeaways that we would, that you could take away at the end of this webinar series. So how do we plan to run this webinar series? So the first two sessions, so the first session is already done. So this is the very second session, will be dedicated to the introductory stuff. So the first session was more on what is Microsoft XDR, what are the different products. It was more of an introductory stuff. So today we are talking about the licensing piece. From here after, we'll try to double click into each one of the products in the Microsoft Defender XDR suite, and we'll try to understand in detail about each one of those products, right? So the goal here is to have at least 12 to 15 sessions, and we plan to have at least 2 sessions for each product as we move further. These would be bi-weekly sessions on Saturdays at 6 p.m. IST. These sessions will be recorded and it will be shared on our YouTube channel, so that if at all you want to go back and view it later, you can also do that. So each session, we are planning to run it for 60 minutes, wherein 50 minutes will be for the session itself. And the last 10 minutes, we'll allocate that for the Q&A. And finally, at the end of the session, we'll also be sharing a Microsoft form for you to give your feedback and also to ask questions. Of course, you're more than free to put your questions in the chat, so that once we are done with our session, we can go through it and answer them. Or else if you want to park your question towards the end, and we are happy to take the questions there as well. But maybe at a later point in time, once you watch the recording and then some questions came up in your mind, you can make use of the feedback form that we'll be sharing towards the end, and then you can make use of that. Okay, so here's a quick recap of what we covered in our last session. So of course, we spoke about what is an XDR and why should you even care about it. So introduction to Microsoft's XDR and the different Defender products and services. So we try to speak briefly about what is an XDR, what is Microsoft XDR, and what are the different products that we have in it. And then we did a high level overview of all the Microsoft Defender XDR products, right? So we double clicked into each one of them. We tried to, match each one of them with a scenario. We had a use case. We spoke about an imaginary organization and how they can make use of all the different XDR products. And then Samik did a good demo on how to use the Microsoft Defender XDR Admin Center. And finally, we also did a comparison with the other third-party products in the market that offer a similar capability. And also we spoke about how you can, have some cost takeouts. So for this session, our agenda is once again, we want to keep it very simple. And that's something that I've been stressing from the very beginning, because as I said, I want to make sure that I don't get too overboard and confuse all of you. Okay. So we'll be begin by talking about understanding the different licensing SKUs for Microsoft Defender XDR products. So for each and every single product, we'll be talking about what are the different SKUs, what are the SKUs that offer that particular capability. And then we'll also be talking about the core capabilities of each product and their respective plans. What I mean by this is, if I'm talking about MDO, like what are the core capabilities which Defender for Office 365 can offer, right? And what are the different plans within Microsoft Defender for Office 365 and what's covered in every single plan. So that's what we are trying to unlock when I say about core capabilities. Then there is a demo which is planned by Samik, wherein he is going to show you how to, go ahead and subscribe for a trial. Maybe you have a demo tenant, and then as you're starting your journey with us, you also want to go ahead and get started with the trial. So we'll be showing about how you can, start your trial and make use of this 1 month or 2 months time period for you to play around with the XDR. Then there is also a Microsoft XDR licensing cheat sheet, which Samik has put together, because I want to confess and tell everybody that the licensing for security products in Microsoft, it's quite complex, right? As you start to delve deep into it, you'll find yourself in a very confused state. So we've tried to simplify things by using the licensing cheat sheet, and Samik has put that together, and he'll be showing that during his demo. And we'll also be talking about the Microsoft 365 maps. I'm pretty sure a lot of you would be using that tool handy so that you can go and look into the, if at all that's something new to you, maybe in this session, you'll try to understand what Microsoft 365 maps is all about and how you can make use of it. And finally, I'll be sharing some useful links, which I want you to go through after this session, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. So I hope that sets the tone for the session. So let's get started. Okay, so a quick disclaimer. So whatever you're hearing from us today is the current information on Microsoft XDR licensing, right? And it may or may not change by Microsoft over the course of time. Most likely it's going to change, because for anybody who has been on the Microsoft cloud world for quite some time, you know how frequently Microsoft changes things. So please bear in mind that whatever you're hearing from us today is only relevant as of today. Maybe 2 months from now, 6 months from now, things could change. So kindly refer to the official documentation for any information related to licensing, because that's the only authoritative source when it comes to licensing. So please make sure that you refer to Microsoft documentation only. And we want to try not to talk about the pricing, because the pricing that you see on the website is maybe if you're purchasing from a licensing partner, then there is a discount and there is a lot which goes into it. So we want to stay away from talking about the pricing. We don't want to cover that in this session. Yeah. All right. So just to fresh up our minds. So on the last session, we spoke about the different Microsoft Defender products and services, and then we spoke about how Microsoft has segmented these things, right? We said that is the Microsoft Defender XDR, which is more related to the Microsoft 365 side of things. Then we have the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which is more related to the Microsoft Azure side of things, the IaaS and PaaS side of things, right? And then we have the Microsoft Defender for IoT, which is more towards the IoT side of things. And then we have the Defender for Threat Intelligence and Microsoft Defender capabilities in Windows. So this is the overall thing and this is how Microsoft has segmented it. But our core focus throughout this webinar series is going to be on Microsoft Defender XDR. So as showcased in our previous session, so the Microsoft Defender XDR is nothing but, earlier it was called as Microsoft 365 Defender. Now it's called as Microsoft Defender XDR. So it's a unified defense, which is going to help to secure your hybrid identities. It could be your on-prem or cloud identities. Then your endpoints, when I say endpoints, it could be your devices, your laptops, your workstations, your mobile devices, Android devices, Apple devices, everything is included in it. And also Linux and other operating systems are also a component of it. And then email and collaboration, the other cloud SaaS apps, data and cloud workload. So when I say in Microsoft Defender XDR, this is an ultimate Defender suite, which is going to take care of all these workloads that you see in the screen. And the unique capability of any XDR, I'd like to call it as a salient feature, because it's prevent, protect, detect, and respond and extend. So these are the core capabilities which makes a product to be called as an XDR. There are, unless and until a product offers all these capabilities, it cannot be called as an XDR. Of course, there are EDR solutions, there are NDR solutions, which are more specific to a given problem. But when I say an XDR, it's ultimately trying to solve all these problems, and that's why you're seeing all these different capabilities underneath it. Now, now that we have understood what Microsoft Defender XDR is, and I'm pretty sure we've been saying this for quite some time now, and I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record because I've been trying to help you understand what this is for quite some time, right? So let's shift gears and try to understand about the licensing. So the rule of thumb when we talk about Microsoft Defender XDR licensing, right? So these are the four core capabilities, right? Protect, detect, investigate, and respond. And with the respond, you also get automate, right? So, but these are the four core capabilities which any XDR offers, and this is how Microsoft has also, made their licensing for this product. So, the protect and detect comes with plan one. So, any XDR, Microsoft Defender XDR product, it could be MDO, it could be MDE. The protect and detect comes with a plan one. And then the plan two is something which includes what plan one offers. And on top of that, it also gives you the investigate and respond capabilities also. So as I said, this is the rule of thumb. Just make sure that you understand this properly, because only then you would be able to understand how the products or how the capabilities are segregated for each and every single product. Okay. And a quick note, not every single product within the Microsoft Defender XDR suite has a plan one and plan two split up. Okay, so it's only the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 and Microsoft Defender for Endpoint which has a plan one and plan two at this moment. Maybe later Microsoft could say that for Defender for Identity, we want to give a plan one and plan two, and for Defender for Cloud Apps, we want to give a plan one and plan two. That's based upon the market need and how other competitors are doing and how Microsoft wants to place their subscriptions and stuff. But at this very moment, it's only Defender for Office 365 and Defender for Endpoint which has a plan one and plan two split up. Okay, so this is something which we already spoke about in our previous session. So these are the different core Microsoft Defender XDR products and the other solutions that closely integrate with Microsoft Defender XDR. Okay, so in that respect, we have Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Clouds, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which are the four core products in the Microsoft Defender XDR suite. Okay, and then we also have the Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management, Microsoft Entra ID Protection, Microsoft Data Loss Prevention, and App Governance. So the last four are something which can closely integrate with the above four products. So that's how we need to look at it. But if at all somebody asks you what are the core products within Microsoft Defender XDR, then the first four ones are the ones, and the ones which you are seeing underneath them, these are the ones which it can closely integrate with. Okay. So let's talk about our very first product, which is Microsoft Defender for Office 365. So as the name itself says, it's a Defender suite, which is meant to secure your core Office 365 workloads, which is your emails, SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, and stuff. Yeah. So Microsoft Defender for Office 365, it was formerly called as Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection. In fact, in our last session, we saw all these name changes. There's nothing but think of it as a cloud-based email filtering service. When Microsoft initially introduced, Exchange Online, so EOP was their default email gateway. And even today, it could be any subscription that you take, any licensing SKU. It could be the bare minimum was just to, even E5. EOP is a given, right? You don't need to pay anything extra for it. Exchange Online Protection is a given. That's the default email gateway that you get along with your Office 365. And what it does, it's going to help you to prevent all the attacks. And that's the email filtering service. But then if you want to go furthermore, right? Because in an enterprise, just that is not enough. You should also be able to detect, investigate, and respond, right? And if at all you need detect capabilities, then as I said, your EOP is given, it's a protection. Your MDO plan one gives protect and detect. So the way you need to look at this is like this, right? And if at all in your MDO plan two, you get protect, detect, investigate, and respond. So everything is included. So this is how you need to look at it. Once again, to repeat, so EOP is the bare minimum in any SKU you would get it. The plan one offers you the detection capabilities. The plan two offers you investigate, respond, along with whatever you see in plan one and EOP. So if at all you're looking for something, so tell me which one gives me the ultimate defense for, then it's nothing but your MDO plan two. You need to look at MDO plan two because that's the one which is going to give you protect, detect, investigate, and respond. So this is how the core capabilities for MDO Plan 1 and Plan 2 have been split up. So once again, the same rule. So prevent and detect capabilities is what is given with Plan 1. And with Plan 2, you get the automate, investigate, and respond along with whatever you get with Plan 1. Okay. So in that respect, under prevent and detect for MDO, we have the safe attachments. These are nothing but all the documents that get shared, all the documents that you put inside your SharePoint, OneDrive, all the links that you share in Microsoft Teams, right? So you have the safe links for that, the advanced phishing threshold and real-time detection. And in your MDO plan two, under prevent and detect, you get attack simulation training, and then there are a whole bunch of other things that you're going to get. Now, how do I visualize this? For that, let's just quickly share my M365 Admin Center. And I'm sorry that in this session I have to, juggle between my Admin Center as well as my PPT because that's how this has been designed. The session has been designed. Let me go here. Uh, so here I am in my. I'll start from. Yeah, I'm in my M365 Admin Center, and I'm going to click on Security. Let this come up. Okay, so we were talking about the MDO licensing, right? So this is how Microsoft has done the split up, and Samik was talking about it in the last session. So under email and collaboration, so everything that you see under the email and collaboration segment is nothing but your MDO. Okay, so the plan one capabilities, as you could see in the slide which in the slide which I just showed you, right? You could see all the policies. So all the policies that you see here, the threat policies, this is where you would configure your anti-spam, your safe attachments, anti-phishing, everything is here, right? So when you have an MDO plan one, all these things are going to come along with that. Now, what do I get when I say an MDO plan two? There are just some core additional capabilities that you would get. For instance, things such as for instance, your threat explorer, right? Of course, this is a demo tenant. There is no data in here, but if at all it's a production tenant, you would be seeing a lot of details in here wherein you can go and pull out all these reports, right? And in addition to that, you can also get the attack simulation training capabilities. Yeah. So this is where you would use to simulate an attack, and you can see how people in your organization respond to that. More than often at times, you would be seeing in your organization that you would be seeing the cybersecurity team trying to send these kind of emails, and they want to see whether you're really paying attention to it, whether you're clicking on it. And once if you click on it, then the next mail is like you have to take this training because you have clicked on it, right? So those kind of things can be done here. You can really launch a simulation, and at the end, if you can see who are the persons who didn't pay attention to it, who have clicked on it, and then you can assign a training to them. I'm just showing this because I want you to understand how the MDO plan 1 and plan 2 has been split up. But we are going to have dedicated sessions in each and every single one of these. So I'm not going to spend too much of time explaining each and every single option that you see here. This is just to show you what are the plan 1 and how the plan 1 and plan 2 split up has been done for MDO. Okay. And with this, you can also see it has AIR, the investigate, and there is a lot which goes, and this will be covered in detail when we do the dedicated sessions. So speaking about SKUs, now this is the $1,000,000 question, right? So what are the SKUs that include MDO Plan 1 and Plan 2? First of all, everything that you see, the Microsoft, at least for the Microsoft Defender stuff, it is a per user subscription, meaning every single user should be licensed for it. Okay. Uh, More than often, what you would see in your tenant is even if there is one Microsoft 365 E5 license, you would start seeing all those E5 capabilities being, those capabilities will light up in your tenant. meaning you will see the attack simulation training, you will be seeing all those E5 capabilities everywhere. But that doesn't mean that you can go ahead and use those E5 capabilities, meaning each there should be so many number of E5 licenses in your tenant. Let's say there are 100 users in your tenant and you want to give MDO plan 2 to all the 100 users, then of course you need to make sure that you have that license. Now this is quite a confusing thing which Microsoft has done, because even if there is one E5 license, you would start seeing all those E5 capabilities in your tenant, which gets confusing. You would wonder, why am I even seeing this, right? That's because there is that one single license or two licenses in your tenant, but that doesn't mean that you can use it, because for each and every single thing you need a license. So please bear in mind that it is a per user subscription, and these are the different SKUs that include the MDO plan 1 and plan 2. Now you may ask, well, Vignesh, how do I know? We understand that MDO comes, your plan 1 and plan 2 is included in all these queues, but we would like to have a much more, greater split up, wherein we want to know what are the SKUs which offer MDO plan 1 and what are the SKUs which offer MDO plan 2. Well, I tried to put a split up like that, but it just got quite complicated. So, which is why Samik in his cheat sheet, he's going to talk in detail about it, wherein he can clearly explain you what are the SKUs which covers the plan 1 and what are the SKUs which cover the plan 2. But for at this very moment, I just want to let you know that the Office 365 E5, the Microsoft 365 E5, and so these are all the SKUs which offers you the plan 1 and plan 2. And look at this, the Microsoft 365 F5 security and compliance, right? Now, for anybody who has been in the Microsoft 365 world for quite some time, you would understand that this is not a base license. Your base license should be something like your E5, G5, A5, or a business premium. So those are the base licenses. When I say base license, something which offers you the core capabilities of Microsoft 365, such as SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Power Platform, so on and so forth, right? And this is something that you can purchase as an add-on, the Microsoft 365 F5 security and compliance, so that you would get the MDO plan 1 and plan 2 capabilities. I hope I'm making myself clear. So just don't go and just purchase this and expect that I would get everything. No, you would need to you need to make sure that you have a proper base license, and you can top it up with your F5 security and compliance if at all you need the MDO plan 1 and plan 2. Yeah. And saved documents is also available for users who have a proper Microsoft 365 A5 or E5 security licenses. Well, I'm talking only about the enterprise queues, because I'm going to make an assumption that a lot of us who work here work closely for enterprise customers. But for whatever reason, if you work for an education customer or maybe first line workers, so just make sure that you understand that there are F5s, G5s, and A5 also, which you need to take a look at. All right, with that, the next product which I want to talk about is the Microsoft Defender for Identity, which is the second product in the Microsoft Defender XDR suite. And this was formerly called as Azure ATP. And we clearly looked into this in our previous session, and we understood that this is something which is going to help to secure all your hybrid identities. It's just not only your cloud identities, not the ones which live within Entra ID, but also your on-prem identities also, because the main task of Defender for Identity is to secure your domain controllers, take care of all those hybrid identities. And it just doesn't end there. If you look at this diagram, even your third-party identity providers also. So signals from all these different identity providers. It could be Entra ID, your Active Directory on-prem, your third-party, all these things go together, and your Defender for Identity make sure that it takes care. If there are any threats or anything which is coming from that route, it's going to take care of it. So that's the job of the Defender for Identity. And these are the, and this is the core capabilities for Defender for Identity, which is going to help you to gain visibility with comprehensive identity inventory, highlight the identities most at risk in your tenant, get industry-leading detection spanning the cyber attack lifecycle, immediately respond to compromised identities, and bolster your defense with identity posture assessments. So this is what are the core capabilities of Microsoft Defender for Identity. And to show you a quick demo of this on the Microsoft Security Admin Center, for this, I'm going to go under the Identities node. Well, this very option, I was not, at least I couldn't remember seeing this until a couple of days back. This started showing up now. So if you go here, you will see identities. And then if I click on the dashboard, I really love the way how Microsoft is trying to give, these individual segments for each and every single product. So you could see that how many cloud users are there, how many hybrid users, how many on-prem users are there. Zero users were identified in a risky lateral movement path. Zero users are considered dormant in AD. When I say dormant, I pretty much, so I guess everybody understands dormant, right? It's an account which hasn't been used for quite some time, right? And then there is an identity secured score. And then it also talks about what are the high privileged identities. So pretty much anything to do from an identity standpoint, everything can be covered here. Everything you can come here and you can see it. It also talks about some health issues because with this product, you can install sensors in your domain controllers and you can do that. So all this, the health issues are spoken about. Now there are different tools here. So just observe that this is what is possible. Maybe when we are doing the deep dive sessions, we'll make sure that you understand each and every single card that you see here, how we arrived here, what configuration we made, so on and so forth. So that's in terms of Defender for Identity. And these are the SKUs which include Defender for Identity. Once again, this is a per user subscription, meaning every single user should be licensed for it. And there is no concept of plan one and plan two for Defender for Identity at this moment, right? So when you have Defender for Identity, whatever Defender for Identity offers, you get everything. And these are the different SKUs. You have the EMS E5, the Microsoft 365 E5, the Microsoft 365 security, and there is also a standalone Defender for Identity license. Okay, so if you think that these bundles are quite costly for you, which is, and you just want to make sure that you're just purchasing Defender for Identity as a standalone. So that could be a lot more lesser. So if that's the route that you want to go, you can just go ahead and purchase the standalone license. So whatever suits your business need, because there is a lot which goes into it. There is a component of budgeting. There is a component of whether you see your organization really see values in it. So you need a lot of math goes into it. So make sure that these are the difference. And there is also a standalone, and you can go ahead and purchase this based on your need. The next product is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So as the name itself says, this is something which is going to take care of all your endpoints. And when I talk about Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, it's nothing but an enterprise endpoint security platform designed to help your enterprise network. It takes care of all your endpoints in your organization, right? It could be laptops, mobile phones, tablets, routers, switches, firewalls, and also these endpoints that I'm speaking about, they are not just limited to only Microsoft operating systems. It could be Linux, Apple, and I'm pretty sure Microsoft would, maybe in the near future, they'll try to include other operating systems also. But just so you know, it's just not limited only to Microsoft. And with the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, these are the core capabilities that you get. The first one is the core Defender vulnerability management. So this is something which you get with your Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan 2. And as the name itself says, it's going to take care of all the vulnerabilities in the endpoints. When I say vulnerabilities, I'm talking about the browser extensions. I'm talking about the updates that are missing in your softwares, right? I'm talking about the device certificates. There is a lot that could be that we can put under the realm of vulnerabilities in a PC. And then you have the attack surface reduction. Think of it as the very first layer of defense for endpoints. This is where the network protection, all those things comes into picture. And when I say next gen protection, think of it as a second layer of protection after your attack surface reduction. These are all about the, the current threats, something which is happening at the very moment, those kind of threats. And then you have EDR capabilities, endpoint detection and response. This is nothing but your prevent, detect, and investigate capabilities specific to your EDR. And then the auto investigation and remediation, which is once again the capability of an XDR. That's why, it's just because if you're just talking about EDR, it ends with here. But your Defender for Endpoint can also offer the components of an XDR also, which is where you see the automate investigation and remediation, and also the Microsoft threat experts. Because for this is something which, think of it as a knowledge base or something for every single alert. I'm sorry, for Microsoft keeps flushing all this data in your admin center. So it's useful for SOC analyst or somebody to go and refer and look at what are the top threats currently in the world, right? So what's going on in the cybersecurity world? What are the top threats? What are the top trends? What are the top threats? All this information will be captured under the threat experts. And this is very useful for all the SOC analysts. So this is about Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and these are the core capabilities. Once again, your Defender for Endpoint has a plan 1 and plan 2 split up, similar to what Microsoft Defender for Office 365 has. And the MDE Plan 1 includes all these capabilities, something which I was just speaking about. And your MDE Plan 2, it includes everything that is there in your Plan 1 and all the other things that you see here, which is your device discovery, device inventory, core defender, vulnerability management, and a lot goes into it. Okay, just to quickly show you a quick glimpse of this. When I say defender for endpoint, just go to settings and endpoints, and you would see all these capabilities which I was just showing in the slide. The advanced features, you can see all this device discovery, you can turn on all these things. So if you're seeing something which is mentioned under the plan 2, which means that of course you have a plan 2. That's so of course when you're purchasing that in your tenant, you would very well know, but I'm just saying. So once you have a plan 2, all these options will start lightening up of the web content filtering and pretty much everything you can see here, because this tenant has a plan 2 license, which is why you're seeing everything. Okay, let's keep moving on. Now, speaking about the SKUs that include the MDE Plan 1 and Plan 2, once again, this is a per user subscription. And the Plan 1, these are the different SKUs which offer Plan 1. And also bear in mind that it is also available as a standalone plan. So if at all you feel that this is too much pricey for me, I can't go ahead and purchase a M365 E3 just for the sake of having MDE Plan 1, then just go ahead and purchase a standalone plan. It just solves your purpose, right? Similar way, MDE Plan 2 is included in all these SKUs. So, and it's also having it. I'm sorry, it also has a standalone plan. So please bear that in mind also. Then the next thing that we want to talk about is Microsoft Defender for vulnerability management. Now, this is something which goes as an add-on to your Defender for endpoint, meaning think of it, this is something which is going to complement your EDR, which is your Microsoft Defender for endpoint, because you basically need to have an EDR solution on top of which, because only then you can top it up with this, or it doesn't make any sense, right? So your Microsoft Defender for vulnerability management, this is going to help you to reduce cyber risks with continuous vulnerability discovery, risk-based prioritization, and remediation. And this is something which I was just speaking before, right? To take care of, it's going to completely scan all the devices in your environment. It's going to look at the browser extensions, the apps, the updates, everything. It's what it's going to do here. And it has two capabilities. We call it as the MDVM core and the MDVM premium. So in the MDVM core, this is what you get. And in the MDVM premium, it includes everything that you get in MDVM core, and in addition to that, all these other things. So this very product, it's quite complicated. At least the licensing for this, it's quite complicated. It took us some time for me and Samik to understand how Microsoft has split the licensing and to capture it here. So if you're somebody who's seeing it for the first time and when you're reading it, you might get a little bit confused, but please bear in mind that it's just not you. It took us even for some time to understand how the split up is done for core and premium. And for this, to quickly show you the admin options for this. So you would see this here under your endpoints, you would see vulnerability management. Now this tenant has Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan 2, which comes along with my E5. And with my Plan 2, I get the core vulnerability management capabilities, which means I get all this. Okay, so which is why you're seeing all these options here. So there is a quick a dashboard which speaks about the security recommendations. Then there is a score, and there is a lot of cards which talks about the vulnerable software on all the endpoints. And there is a lot of information which goes into it, some sort of recommendations, inventories, everything is here. Now, as I said, this is just a demo tenant, so there is hardly any information here, but in a production environment, you would be seeing a lot. Okay, so with that, so here are the different SKUs. And one thing that you need to be very clear here is all this time, whatever I said before this, at least for your Defender for Office 365, Defender for Identity, and Defender for Endpoint, all these SKUs that I was showing for those products, they included that. But when you look at for MDVM, SKUs on top of which MDVM can be purchased as an add-on. So you need to have these as a base license, and your MDVM can be purchased as an add-on. Just be very clear about it, right? It doesn't mean that Just because you have this, you're going to get it. You need to purchase. So these are all should be the base licenses on top of which you can purchase MDVM as an add-on. And you can also have Microsoft Defender for vulnerability management can be purchased as a standalone to complement any of your EDR. Well, this is what the Microsoft documentation says, but I can't just agree with the fact that it could complement any EDR, right? It would make sense that it can complement your endpoint, your Microsoft Defender for endpoint. But what if you have CrowdStrike, right? What if you have a different one, like Symantec or whatever, right? Can it go well with that? At this moment, even I don't have the answers for it, but this is what the Microsoft documentation says. Maybe somebody has to try it out and see how these both goes together. But the Microsoft documentation says that you can complement any existing EDR by purchasing a Microsoft Defender for vulnerability management. And then we have the Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. This is the last product that we have. So your Microsoft Defender for cloud apps is nothing but the CASB that we have, which is part of the Microsoft Defender suite. So this is going to help you take care of all the SaaS, just not SaaS, PaaS and everything for all the cloud apps that you have in your environment. So this basically does four things. It's going to help you take care of your SaaS security posture management, information protection of all the data which is kept inside the SaaS apps. It could be your SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, or you could be using other third-party SaaS apps such as your Dropbox. You could be having an AWS S3 bucket. There is a lot, right? So it's going to take care of all the information protection related to all that. It also offers continuous threat protection. And there is also an element of app governance, which is nothing but an app-to-app protection. Basically, when you're using OAuth, so what happens there? So even those things can be controlled using your CASB. So the way this product has been segregated as, so these are the core capabilities of Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, Microsoft 365 cloud app security and app governance, right? So you might be wondering that I understand Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. Now, what is this Microsoft cloud app security, right? So this was always there. This thing was always there. So when I split up and I'm trying to take, when I say Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, think of it as a CASB for any cloud product. It's just not limited only to Microsoft 365. It can also take, and if you can see here, right, it could do the cloud discovery for 31,000 plus cloud apps, which means it is just not for Microsoft. Information protection for cross SaaS DLP and data sharing control. It can do information protection for Microsoft 365 products and also third-party SaaS solutions. The same goes everywhere. But when I say a Microsoft Cloud App Security, this is only limited to my core Microsoft 365 products. That's it. Unlike the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, which can control even third-party cloud apps, this is only limited to Microsoft 365 apps or Microsoft offerings only. That's why you can see only for Azure, only for Microsoft 365 apps, only for something. So if you're looking for something to purchase only to control Microsoft 365, then maybe Microsoft Cloud App Security would be the perfect choice. But in an enterprise, of course, we all understand that we are just not going to use only Microsoft 365. There will be a lot of other third-party solutions also. Then in that case, you can go for Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. And then app governance, this is nothing but a component which is part of your Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. It's included here. And it's going to give you the insights about the apps governance. This is where the OAuth component comes into picture, right? So, and I'll be talking about that just in about a minute. And these are the capabilities which the app governance offers. These are the different SKUs once again, so don't get too confused. So the Microsoft 365 Cloud App Security, these are the different SKUs, Defender for Cloud Apps and the app governance. Now, one thing that you need to notice is, that is an element of information protection in Defender for Cloud Apps, right? That is an element of conditional access app control there. So you need to make sure that for you to take the complete advantage of Defender for Cloud Apps, you need those licenses also, meaning for discovery capabilities, you would need Entra ID P1 and P2. Maybe you have Defender for cloud apps, but maybe if your tenant doesn't have a P2 capability, then that particular feature inside Defender for cloud apps may not work because you're missing on that license. And also the conditional access app control would need a P1, would need a P1. And once again, if you're trying to do, sensitivity labels, right, you need to make sure that, and if you're trying to do auto sensitivity labels, for that, you need to use the plan too. So please make sure that you have those licenses also taken care of. And again, for now, if all these things are too much for you, you're getting over, very complicated. When we are doing the deep dive sessions, all this would make sense. So finally, the app governance, which is, as I said, a component of your Defender for Cloud apps. So this is basically to take care of the non-Microsoft apps which are integrated in your Entra ID. Okay, so these non-Microsoft apps, they have the they're going to be having this OAuth controls in all your Microsoft products, right? It could be Google, it could be Salesforce, it could be a Google identity trying to have access on one of your Microsoft 365 apps. And you need to understand, what level of permissions that does this Google identity have on my Microsoft 365 apps. So those kind of things can be done using your app governance. So I'll just quickly show you about the Defender for Cloud Apps and app governance. So as I said, so the cloud discovery. So this entire segment is what your Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps is. So it has a component of cloud discovery. You can see it's going to do a discovery and showcase all the apps, discovered apps. You would not see any third-party app yet because I've simply not used anything, right? But if at all it notices anything, any third-party, something else like Dropbox or something which has been integrated, it'll start showing up that also. And then there is a cloud app catalog. Here you can specify, and this is how it has splitted it up as. You can see all these things here. It's a very huge list. Yeah. And then the app governance. This is what speaks about all the the OAuth things. Let this come up. Yeah. Um, of course, you're not going to see anything much here, but if I click on the Azure AD, you would see all the API controls, the Graph API things that I've given, and it's going to show what kind of permissions that they have, what is the consent type. So all this information will show up here. They can also configure alerts and policies as well, right? And in terms of the all the policies that you could configure, you have all these threat detection policies, information protection policies, conditional access policies, shadow IT and stuff. There are a lot of templates that you could use, or you can also go ahead and create your own policy based upon your business need. Okay. And with that, let me go and hand it over to Samik so that he can talk about, he can show you a quick demo on some of the, how to set up the Defender XDR trial lab and also talk about the licensing cheat sheet and also the M365 maps. So Samik, over to you.
Thank you, Vignesh, and I will share my screen, and if you could confirm it's visible.
Yeah.
You should see it now. All right, so
Uh, it's just about, yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, good
all
to go.
right. So I think Vignesh spoke a lot about having the licenses and trial licenses. But let's say if we are a first-hand user, right? What is that first thing we should do to get things in action? And as you know, Microsoft is really famous for having the trials available. So in this screen, right, this is a fresh tenant with E3, Microsoft E3 licensing enabled. And as I said, it's just that I provisioned it, for example, yesterday, right? And then I've done the setup, basically it as a E3 tenant. And what I wish to do is, for example, I wish to try the maybe Defender of Office Plan 1 and Plan 2. And for that, the way is either I get onto an add-on licensing, which is on top of E3, maybe E5 EMS, or kind of upgrade to an EMS, sorry, E5 license, right? And for that, let me first show you I'm in the admin center, and then I'll go to your products. And then when we go to your products, you'd see it is like it says it has only M365 E3, and then we'd go to purchase services now. And when you go ahead and then try to purchase services, either it's in recommended all products, so you should switch to all products so that it can list out all the products. And just for the interest of time, I'm just searching E5 here. And when we do search E5, it is going to list down, for example, Microsoft 365 E5. And as you know, right, this is just what we're looking for. And then when I click on details right here, right? So once I click on details, it's gonna load the portal, and this is going to give us an option, as you can see, right, how many license I want, how many subscription billing frequency, and in here I can get for a E5 trial. So basically, without even buying, you can start a trial. So let me close out the pop-up right now. I mean, obviously that goes to the checkout and billing page, but the way you should do is we can get the possibility and get a trial activated by this way, right? Just on a fresh new tenant. And one thing to remember, one tenant, right? If it is a production tenant, Microsoft allows the trial only for one time. So we need to be really careful about activating the trial and make sure that once we activate it, we are making the full utilization of that, trial to understand the feature and things like that, right? And let me get back to the other one. The next piece is, as I was going to show, there's one Microsoft PDF. This is more about being, again, coming back to the piece that how you understand licenses, or let's say if you want to try out some features, how you basically understand, what is the base license you need, and what are the add-ons. For example, I have just highlighted one Microsoft Defender for Office plan 2, which Bignesh spoke about in detail. So let's say you're an E3, right? So obviously E3 don't have that plan 2, but if you go to E5, you will have that. If you go to E5 security, you also have that. That means if we are running E3, we have two options. Number one, we can upgrade to E5 and our billing will be on E5 per user license, or we can have an add-on as E5 security on top of your E3. So that basically, pretty much works as having your plan 2 over here, right? So this is again a full document available by Microsoft. And next thing, I'm going to show you the same feature, right? Using Microsoft 365 Maps. And just to mention, Microsoft 365 Maps is developed by a Microsoft employee called Aaron Dinage. He has done really a wonderful job to help us and identify and understand the license in a lot deeper way. So if you go to the Maps website and go to the matrix, this is what we are going to look like. And what we are going to do here, we don't need everything. So as I say, we go to E3, we go to E5. Not even, we don't need to go to Office. We can directly go to Microsoft 365 Enterprise E3, E5 security, compliance, and directly E5. And then if I just do a search for plan 2, let me go to plan 2. I think I'll just quickly go to plan 2 here. And yeah, this time if we, for example, take Defender for Endpoint plan 2, right? As you can see, the same thing, right? E3 doesn't have that plan 2, rather it has the plan 1 as well. But if we really want to get Defender for Endpoint plan 2, either we have to go full E5 or we can go E5 security on top of E3. So that's how basically you mix and match your licenses when you plan for licensing, right? Because it is important, because if you do not plan it well, you might not need E5 all the cases. It's always E3 plus E5 security also makes sense, right? Now that's where you just scroll all the way along and then try to understand what are the other features available and how many of them we need that, right? And just as an extended version from the same m365maps.com, I've just put together a cheat sheet, and just bring it up that Excel here to show you. For example, same coming back to Defender for Office Plan 2 and Plan 1, right? It's available if you have E3, you want to go E5 security as an add-on to get either plan 1 or plan 2, right? Same thing goes for if you have A5, right? So if you have A3 licenses, you need to get to have A5 security on top of it, or just add A5 directly as an upgrade, right? So this is fundamentally the way you can kind of mix and match and understand your licensing. So to summarize the demos, number one, you can go to your tenant and try a trial to make sure that your trial is, you're happy with the trial, and then what else you need from the trial and things like that. Other than that, once you are good and experimented and understood the product by using the trial, you can always use these resources like M365 Maps or the Excel I've shared, right? To mix and match and compare the licenses and come up with a plan that which licenses you're gonna buy, you know, to meet your enterprise needs, because every enterprise is different by nature. So every need is anyway unique to Microsoft, right? So with that said, I'll just give it back to Bignesh.
All right, thanks, Sonik. So I'm going to share my screen again. Let me bring up my PP. So folks, so that's a quick thing that we wanted to talk in terms of the licensing. And of course, we'll be giving the links for all of that in about a minute. Finally, to summarize, right? So this is what exactly we've been speaking the whole time, right? So uh, this is a proper call it as a split up or a summary deck, right? So these are the different Microsoft XDR products. What's its purpose? What are the core features of it, the available plans and SKUs, and the target objects that it covers. So this is how we have put the split up. So maybe if at all you want to take a screen capture, go for it. And later if we are sharing the slide decks with you, you can also take it from there. And these are some useful links which I want you all to go through. And again, I repeat, as far as licensing is concerned, do not go by reading any random blog post. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to defame people who are trying to do it. That's not my core intent. But these things change so frequently that it's not quite humanly possible for anybody to go ahead and keep writing a blog post about all this. So always refer to a Microsoft's official documentation. The first link that you're seeing here, this takes you to that PDF which Samik was showing. The last time I checked, it was updated on February 1st, 2024. So anytime you're looking at licensing, please make sure that you look at the date on when it was updated and then go for it. Because you might be thinking something, but when you go ahead and try to purchase is when you'll realize that things have changed now. Okay, so please make sure that you bear that in mind.
And
And
just to add to Bignesh, one thing here, as Bignesh have highlighted in the beginning, right? So all the licenses we are talking about, this is per user license. So Defender XDR don't have any license like buy one for all, right? That's not the case of licensing, unlike Microsoft other products. So you need to get a count of your users and accordingly plan the licenses to get them done.
yeah, that's right. And also, you may see and just to complement what Samik said, right? I've seen some organizations wherein they use for email security, they would be thinking of purchasing Proofpoint, Mimecast, right? And then they would try to make use of for their endpoint security, they would be investing on MDE, right? And then so on and so forth. So for you to see the complete benefit of an XDR, it so happens that you need to be making the complete investment on the Microsoft XDR products, meaning your email security should be MDO, your endpoint should be secured using MDE. Then you bring in the Defender for Identity component, and finally there is the SaaS, because all these things are closely integrated in such a way that when a alert comes up, the incidents are also tied in such a nature that let's say somebody has sent a malicious email and a user clicked on it, right? And that's where we saw the cyber security, the attack kill chain last time, so that you could get a complete 360-degree view of what exactly happened on the endpoint, what exactly happened on the user's identity, which SaaS app he has targeted, and what happens. You get the complete 360-degree view. That may not be the case when you're trying to replace this with a different product. Maybe your MDO is being replaced with a different email security product, right? Or for your MDE, you have a different, maybe you have CrowdStrike, right? And so on and so forth. I could just keep giving examples. Then you may not see the full value of it. So please bear in mind that for you to see the complete value of all these things, you should have the complete Microsoft XDR suite of products. Only then it would make sense. And I hope you all understand what I'm trying to say. So with that, thanks a lot, folks. Thank you so much for your time. And as I said, we wanted to try to make it as simple as possible because, of course, you would just simply get carried away, and it will be too overwhelming for anybody who's trying to understand the licensing pieces. With that, our next session is nothing but we want to, from now onwards, we want to double click into in every single one of the XDR products. We'll be talking about getting started with Microsoft Defender for Office 365, and this is planned on March 16th at 6 p.m. IST. So I have a personal commitment on March 9th. So because of that, I had to shift the webinar to March 16th. So from here after, we'll double click into each one of these products, and we'll try to do deep dive sessions on configuring all the policies. What happens, we'll be talking about each and every single option you see there, what exactly you do inside it. So everything will be covered in those deep dive sessions. So with that, we'll break up for questions. So if at all you have any questions, now would be the time to bring up those questions. And please do scan this QR code and give us your valuable feedbacks. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and post your questions also. Thank you so much, folks. You've been wonderful audiences. And if you have any questions, now would be the time for it. Thank you.